Hello all, welcome to another exciting routing video series. So today's topic will be peer group, as you see on the top here. So what is a peer group? Why do we use a peer group? Why do I use peer group at work? So peer group is, you could Google basically the definition of peer group in this video. I'm just going to show you how to configure the peer group. But as per my understanding, what peer group does is it make your life easy, basically. For example, say like in IBGP, for example, right? So you have one router, and you're connecting your router to multiple peers, router 2, 3, 4, and 5, so forth, and so on. So what it does, like on each neighbor, you don't it save you time by not configuring similar type of commands, right? I will in a second I will show what I mean, right? They could be so like whatever the outbound policies you would have on your neighbors, the outbound interfaces around router 2, 3, 4, and 5. If it's as long as they're similar, you can use the peer group, right? So basically it's kind of a template. You just make it, and you just use that template again and again while you're bringing up your peers. So I mean, don't take me wrong, there is another something very similar to template in BGP, BGP templates, which is a little bit different topic. BGP templates have two portions to it: policy and session, I believe. But here in the peer group, you only have one structure. So in a minute I will show you how to configure that, right? So say like for example, router 1 would have multiple networks, right? And you only want to advertise one network, and you want to hold rest of them, you don't want to advertise them, basically. So there are many ways you can do that. For what I do is I create a route map, and call that particular network which I want to advertise, and that route map, I will create a prefix list for the network, bind that to a route map, then call the route map on the outbound interfaces towards the router 4, 5, and 6, or whatever the peer I want to advertise that, right? Holding that the networks, because as soon as you give a redistribute connected command, everything will start advertising. So it's some say like if you don't want to advertise all the junk you have on your routes you have, or I'm sorry for my language, but whatever the routes you don't want to advertise, you can filter them using the route map prefix list, right? So instead of calling the route maps everywhere, what I would do, I just create a route map, create a prefix list, call in a peer group, and just I would just put the configuration, and that's how it will make your life easy, right? So that I save time not repeating the same configuration on all the peers. So for example, let's get started our configuration. If I do show IP interface, show IP interface brief, en assign. So router 1 basically has point-to-point connectivity with all the peers 1, 3, 4, and 5 routers, and it also have its loopback interface 1, 1, 1, 10, 10, 10, 10, right? So if I do show run sec BGP, I don't have any BGP configuration running on my router. So let's get it started. So let's say router BGP 100, right? Let's call 100, it's better. So on neighbor, let's go create a peer group, right? IBGP, that will be the name. I will just call peer group. So this guy, you can call it anything. You can call your name, your company name, or whatever you want it, right? I will just call IBGP, and just call it peer group. Peer group is a command which enables a peer group functionality, and this is a IBGP, right? So now that I created that, I will just go back here, and I will start putting those commands which I will be using on all my peers. So basically, I'm drafting a template, right? Right, so I will just do that here. Neighbor, say like, sorry, before we go there, now this is IBGP. Obviously, all your peers will be on the same, will have the same remote AS, right? Do you agree with that? I will just call remote AS 100 IBGP. So reconfiguration inbound, peer group. What else? We can do so many things. Let's create a route map here, right? Route map. I will say R1 routes, ROUTES out, because I will be giving the route map out. We'll be controlling whatever we are advertising to our peers, right? I think this should be good enough for now. So I will just show it and show up the BGP. See what happens. How our BGP configuration looks now. So this is the template we just created. I mean the peer group, and whatever my configuration for all the peers on the different interfaces. This will be applied, right? So let's create now that I call the roadmap there. Let's create a roadmap, right? Configuration T roadmap. Um, let's copy the name roadmap. So I copy pasted the name. I will say permit 10, right? So I will say match IP prefix list, match IP address prefix list. Say R1 underscore routes, right? I will create the prefix list also with the same name. I don't have the prefix list, by the way, but I'm calling it, and we will go and configure after this. Okay. So then we put an and, then let's go ahead and configure that prefix list. IP prefix list R1 routes. Then sequence 10. As I said earlier, we have two networks here, 1.1.1, 10.10.10. So let's only advertise our 1.1.1 and hold our 10.10 network, right? So we'll only create this one, 1.1.1 slash 28, right? Oh, sorry, I forgot to put the command permit here. Permit. All right. So now that we have IP prefix list, we also have a roadmap here. So let's confirm that show roadmap R1 routes. All right, what happened? There you go. So I used hyphen instead of underscore for my roadmap. So that's why be careful when you do on the production environment. So this is my roadmap. My roadmap is binded to my prefix list, which is R1 routes. So let's confirm that also. Show IP prefix list. All right. So we only call this network here 1.1.1. So let's do that and show run sec BGP. Right. So we are calling this roadmap. Sorry, where is that? Here, right? So now that our configuration of peer group is ready, we created a roadmap, we created IP prefix list, whatever the basic commands you want to put in, we already done here. So what I will do, conft, I will start calling this peer group on my interfaces, peer configuration now. So I will go and say conft router BGP, right? Neighbor. Now we'll start calling my neighbor IP addresses. Let's begin with router 2.2.2.2 peer group IB. What is my peer group name? IBGP. Alright. What happened? Neighbor 2.2 peer group. Why? It's not a Linux system. Peer group IBGP. Enter. That's weird. Oh, I'm sorry. The neighbor IP address is 2.2.1, 2.2.1. Right. I should have mentioned here on the configuration. So sorry for that. And let's call on the peer IP addresses here. 3.3.1, 4.4.1, 4.4.4.1, as well as 5.5.1. All right, so that's all you need to know. What you need to do, as you see here, after every neighbor command, I'm not calling again the same things, right? So this whatever I just put in here, I'm not calling the route maps, so and so anything, right? I'm just using this template. That's all you need to do, and that's done here. Let's confirm BGP, right? Show IP, BGP summary. Obviously, nothing will be up because we did not configure our peers. So let's go on to the router 2. And you see now, as soon as I configure on router 2, how the BGP peer would come up. I will just keep this above here. Connect router BGP red neighbor 2.2.2.2 remote AS 100. And let's see what happens now. Well, it takes a few seconds. We did not need to wait until that. Um, let's go and fire our router 3. Router 3. Let's keep adding show run sec BGP. Nothing there. Alright. Connect the router BGP 100 neighbor 3.3.3.3, which is router 1's interface IP address, remote AS 100. And alright, so let's see if anything has changed here. So the BGP with the router 2 has come up. 3 would also come up in a few seconds, but we did not need to wait for that. Let's go and configure the router 4 with RFT router BGP 100 neighbor 4.4.4 remote AS 100 and sorry. Right, let's not wait for let's go and fire up router 5 also. Router BGP 100 remote neighbor 5.5.5 remote AS. Alright, and so let's see, we'll go back to the router 1. Let's see what has changed here. Alright, so our peering with router 2, 3, 4, and 5 is up, but we are not receiving any routes. Let's see what. Show the BGP summary. Show IP BGP neighbor. Alright, since we're not advertising anything from peers, it's obviously we are not receiving. Now the thing is, we need to go to the router 2 and 3 and see if we are receiving anything from the router 1. We should be receiving only 1.1.1 network. Show IP BGP summary. Alright, we're not receiving anything. Show IP BGP neighbor. Routes. This command shows you basically what network we're learning from our peer router 1. We're not learning anything. Show IP BGP neighbor. So let's see what's going on. 2.1.1 advertised routes. This command will show what we are advertising. So something we messed up here. So let's see what is there. Show run sec BGP. Okay, alright. Neighbor route one routes. So we are calling this route map. Let's see what's the problem. Alright. Sequence 10 might have been prefix-list. R1 routes. Okay. Show IP prefix-list. Alright. We're permitting 1.1.1. Then what's the problem? Clear IP BGP Let's reset the BGP and see if does bring any good luck. All right. Still nothing. Still nothing. Oh, my bad. So if you see here, show run sec BGP. So we missed one command here, right? So I put everything here, but I did not give a command to advertise my locally connected networks onto this BGP, right? So I'll go back to my BGP configuration, router BGP 100, now redistribute connector. Unless you do that, you're not going to advertise anything, right? So, right, let's see if anything has changed. All right, there you go. So we received one prefix from our neighbor 2.2.2, which is router 1's interface IP address, right? Show IP BGP neighbor. Let's do the same command. So there you go. We are learning this 1.1.1 route because that is the only route we want to advertise, right? As per our prefix list, we are not advertising anything else. We do have two routes, but show run show IP interface brief EMSI. So we have many routes, right? But we are only interested to advertise in 1.1.1 instead of all these unnecessary routes. I'm filtering everything with route map and prefix list. So this video is kind of shows you the route map, IP prefix list, as well as the peer group, right? So let me take you out to the configuration once. Right. So this is how you configure your prefix list. For example, right, whatever the routes you want to advertise, permit or deny, and this is how you configure your route map. Then on the BGP, you call them in your neighbor command. So either you can call in neighbors so and so and route map outbound, or here that I created a peer group. I just put that in. Peer group, this commands all basic commands, right? Policy commands, and I'm just calling them neighbor so and so 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just follow the peer group. So I saved myself on each neighbor putting this lines again. I mean, not this one, but like peer group, remote AS 100, soft configuration days, route map. There will be so many other customized configuration which you kind of sometimes miss, right, with the typo, especially with the route maps, as I just did. I got confused with the hyphen and underscore, right? So say like be careful only creating once in your peer group, then you need not need to worry about after that, right? You just call that peer group, you just go and call this neighbor IP address and ask that neighbor to inherit this peer group, right, configuration. So that's all it is. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, please leave me some comments, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. So see you in the next. Thanks.